All right, we might move along to the business phase. I got a, we live over.
Yep.
We're all... Right, welcome to I'd like to declare open the extraordinary meeting of council for the 5th of March. In doing so, I'd like to read the following statements. The live streaming statement. Everyone of the council wishes to advise members of the public that council meetings will be recorded and will be available after each meeting on the council's website. All care will be taken to maintain the privacy of those in attendance. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given. In the event your image is broadcast, this includes any filming by television cameras if attendance is approved by the General Manager or Mayor. Item 2 on our order of business, acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that we're here today on the land of the Wamba Parishka people. I would also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to past Aboriginal elders, the present Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within this area and their future generations. Item 3 is the statement of purpose. I have come here as a councillor freely and without bias to represent the views of the community in considering the matters before us today, to vote in a matter I consider to be the best interests of the community and to observe the code of conduct and respect the rule of the chair and the views of my fellow councillors. Item 4 is apologies. We have 2 requests from Councillor Hall and Councillor McAllister.
And Councillor Metcalfe.
And now three. Councillor Metcalfe, the leave of absence. Would someone like to move that be accepted? Councillor Mansfield. Okay. Accepted by Councillor Wallace. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes. Carried. Disclosure of interest forms were put in front of all, and they should be given back to Belinda if they're applicable. As we move on to item 7.1, modification there. Julie.
The recommendation before council is that it approve the modification DA 1615 DA A for an intensive livestock facility / feedlot on lot 5 DP 720227 lots 8, 22, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 36, 61, 72 in the DP 756268 Pepinella Canago Road and lots 23 and 84 in DP 756247 the North Canago Road, dated 13th of July 2018 as detailed in the documentation listed in attachment 17 of the report. In accordance with section 4.552 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 and subject to the following reasons. The modification complies with the relevant environmental planning instruments. The modification demonstrates capacity on site for proposed variation in livestock numbers. And the modification identifies a suitable location for the proposed composting pad. And modify the development consent as detailed in attachment 18 of this report.
Right, there are recommendations there. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Got to move?
There was just one thing we needed to note was around the, there's one slight proposed change to the draft conditions of consent.
Yep.
That's on page 18. Do you just want to...
So in the review of and the preparation for the meeting for today, it is suggested that condition 2 of the draft development consent be modified so that the upper limit in condition 2, so that relates to the staging of the development and the number of SCU, that the upper limit be 7483 standard cattle units. So the change would be you would have 5,000 head of cattle and 15,000 head of sheep, or up to 8,000 head of cattle with no sheep not exceeding 7483 standard cattle units at any one time. And thirdly, you can have a varying number of cattle and sheep not exceeding 15,000 head of sheep at any one time to a maximum of 7483 standard cattle units. So it's just a slight increase. It's just increasing. It's just making consistent the upper limit of the standard cattle units between points 2 and 3 of condition 2. It represents an additional 25 standard cattle units between those 2 points. it's just something for council to consider. It's been discussed, I should say, it has been discussed with the EPA yesterday. They support that we're just making that change to the upper limit. However, it's not essential.
Was there any other questions before I ask for a move or against?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, previously in Conago Council we had an issue with the feedlot development application, and I think it was a significant application, and even if council did approve the DA or not approve the DA, the council, whatever council decided, wasn't necessarily the end of the issue. It could have been approved by the state. Is this a similar situation?
Yeah, so council's already granted consent for the operation of the feedlot and it's licensed by New South Wales EPA. So if council was to approve the modification today, they still need to go back to the EPA to vary the licence.
I guess my question is more along the lines of, if council doesn't approve the application, what happens then?
The existing licence just...
Yeah, the existing licence just continues.
And there would also be legal opportunities for the applicant to...
Yep.
Yep.
So the applicant has something to do with.
Any other questions?
So,
Councillor Betts.
can I do you think that the feedlot has, because I get it, if I was living there, I'd really have to consider, you know, you don't have to be a David and Goliath situation, but at the end of the day, if the feedlot has exhausted every opportunity to reduce the odour, then I would feel a lot better about that. You know what I mean? You can't help the weather. You can't help smells, odours. You can't help the weather that obviously determines the wind, the rain, the whatever. But if they've exhausted every opportunity to find the best possible site to reduce it, I would feel a lot better knowing that.
Would you like me to give you some context around the odour complaints and the EPA? Would that help? And a bit of the history?
Yeah, because I mean, these guys, to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, are saying they don't oppose it, and that's fantastic, because you wouldn't want to oppose what's going on here. It is a fantastic thing. But their farms were there before the feedlot, and so it's for them to come in and change it, it's very hard. And ultimately, if it got that bad, whether it be a health issue or, you know, we're going to sell our farm because we can't do this anymore, we're already in a bad property market, so the chances of them selling it for that very reason would be a lot less. So I just want to make that, to me, that's my big. I love that they don't oppose it, but you know, if I was out there and a feedlot moved in and I had to put up with that smell, yeah, I want to make sure that everything possible was being done.
Councillor Wallace.
Mr Mayor, could I ask Julie, from what I understand, there's an annual licence assessment, correct? So where do we stand with the odour in that?
So
In
it's
other words-
managed by the EPA.
So they assess the complaints, and what's the procedure if it gets? What point does it get to before they
So Matt,
jump in?
can I give you some data from the EPA that we have? Yeah. So what the issue is around what deems offensive odour. So there is provision in the Protection of Environment Operations Act around odour causing harm or interfering unreasonably with comfort or repose of any person outside the premises. The sort of things that you're looking at with offensive odour is the strength, nature, duration, character and quality of the odour. And there is a technical framework in New South Wales on how odour is assessed. The conversations I've had with the EPA over the last 12 months are that from August 2018 to June 2019, they received 41 odour complaints from 7 sources, but they have not established any offensive odour during that time. They've undertaken...
So how quickly do they arrive? I mean, it's no good ringing them up and then they arrive 2 days later.
Yeah, no,
because the
so-
establishment's gone.
Yeah, so they are based in either, like Griffith Water, like it's not Warburg, like it's not a thing, but I'll just give you some information about what they have done. So they have undertaken site visits to the feedlot. I know that they have been to the adjoining owner properties as well. They have stayed overnight with adjoining owners. They have conducted covert surveillance, so by that I mean that they have been in Demilla Point, they haven't alerted the feedlot or any of the adjoining owners to the fact that they are there, and they've stayed overnight to try and detect odours. When they've been driving through the area to other sites, any staff that have come through have stopped and tried to detect odour at that point in time. They said they have detected odour on 2 occasions at Conago, but they didn't deem that odour to be offensive. If the EPA did detect offensive odour, it doesn't mean that the feedlot necessarily stops operation. They then work to try and deal with the issues of offensive odour.
James, can I just ask you a question? It hasn't been mentioned here. How many full-time and part-time employees does the feedlot operation employ?
We have 12.
12 full-time employees,
Yeah.
which weren't there before the feedlot was there. Chris?
I mean, it comes down to what you deem offensive odour, seriously. At the end of the day, isn't it? That's the hard part. What you find offensive is not what I find offensive.
It's all very personal.
And look, Councillor, through this process, I understand completely Robin Don's point of view, but as Julie said, the EPA, this has been a long process. They've been involved a number of times. At no point have they, within the legislative framework that they work within, and that we have to assess DAs against, have they objected or raised the concern or said that the planning proposal can't proceed. So I just want to be clear, it has been, a drawn-out process. Obviously, it's clearly council's decision, but as Julie and the planning team, they assess it against the planning framework, and their recommendation to council is that within that legislative framework, that the DA or the modification meets those requirements.
Councillor Fogarty.
Mr Mayor, it's just a question for clarity for myself. This DA was approved quite some time ago. The original DA was approved some time ago. This DA is just for a modification of the business.
Yeah, the operation of the thing.
And the operations of the business. So the business will continue as is.
We couldn't say yes or no, but that's a business decision.
But we can assume that the business will continue as is, regardless of this DA, what happens.
Yep, so they've got a consent.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And just, sorry, I'll just answer one question. You assume she knows the answer. If this modification wasn't approved, the relocation of the compost pad.
The compost pad would have to go back next to the feedlot because that's where the consent currently requires the compost pad to be. So, because of the odour complaints that were received, and the EPA asked the applicant to complete the level 2 odour assessment, and that's where the compost pad was identified as a source of odour that could probably be moved. We agreed with the EPA to allow the applicant to move the composting pad inland, which they have done, and then also to allow the assessment of the modification to continue, because I think the applicant does want to resolve the odour issues. However, if council doesn't approve the modification today, the compost pad will have to be relocated back to next to the feedlot, and they would have to lodge a new application.
Specifically relocating.
So through you, Mr Mayor, that would create a worse situation than we currently have.
Well, you're going back to where you were.
Yep. Also, council has the option to approve part of the modification too.
James, I don't know whether you've got the figure there, but how much is the temporary relocation to the proposed new pad cost?
To make another pad,
No, what you've done so far?
170,000.
that's to build a new pad, but
Build,
to relocate the existing, the pile of compost, how much does that cost?
Well, there's probably 3,000 tonne manure taken over there at about $27 a tonne. So that's we picked it up, took it all away back in
I
September.
would ask that question because what Lewis has said that he'll fix the problem.
Yep.
You know, and by doing that, and we spoke with the other James from Sydney
Yes.
about what we're trying to do, and you know, this that significant investment of money further with no guarantee.
Yep.
And that's the situation that we were in when Adam and myself discussed with the two James.
Yep.
So I just thought I wanted to get that figure across to council that they've tried to do things in a positive way to reduce the impact. Councillor Watts.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. Julie, what did you just say then? Council has the option to...
So council can approve the modification in its entirety, and council can approve part of the modification and refuse it, it's up to council, but the location of the composting pad is also tied up to a licence from the EPA. So if council doesn't approve the modification, the compost pad has to go back to the site next to the feedlot. What we have is only a temporary agreement to hold over to this result.
Which is in the original DA, Councillor Wallace, that's where the composting pad was approved.
Yeah.
You can amend the motion put, Mr Mayor, with your indulgence. You can amend the motion put to just have the
I don't like questions from the gallery of the applicants,
Mr Mayor,
and I know the options that are available
yes,
to council.
and I'm just addressing that situation that an amended motion can be put.
Council, questions or comments? Well, there's a variety of options that are available. Now, what we've got in front of us is a recommendation there. In other words, approving the relocation of the composting pad 7 k's away, whatever it is, to site 3. I think everyone knows that. Now, obviously we've had a fair discussion, which sort of fleshed a fair bit out. Is there a movement to the motion? If not, the motion will lapse.
My opinion, Mr Mayor, is that I didn't realise the issue of the composting pad being relocated back to the feedlot site, which I think will impact residents and ratepayers more, as it has in the past. I'd like to defer this decision today. We've got another meeting in 2 weeks, and I think we need to go through some other options, look at what what the impact will be of moving that feed pad back to the compost pad back to the feedlot, or what the option is to leave it where it is now, but not approve the expansion of the capacity of the feedlot.
Right, and that therefore gives us the option to amend that recommendation.
Absolutely.
I think that's where you're trying to lead the path. Now, we can do that.
So certainly, look, council can defer an item. I'm just looking at Julie or Mara in terms of if council were to defer it, whether there's, from the legal perspective from the applicant, if they chose to, I'm not saying they would.
The decision can be deferred, certainly, but the location of the compost pad, the changes in the numbers are all tied up in assessments that have been completed. So the odour impact assessment that was completed by the applicant talks about the odour as it stands at the moment. So essentially with the compost pad sitting next to the feedlot. So that's been addressed in the documentation that's attached to the report. So we know the impact of the compost pad staying next to the feedlot, and we know the impact of the compost pad being moved 7 kilometres inland. And we've got an indication through the modelling that's occurred. So the information is there. It would depend on what council asks in terms of whether it can come back to the next meeting if it needs more technical work. then it wouldn't necessarily be able to come back to the March meeting.
Do you want to move?
I'm
Defer this to the...
to clarify the process, Mr Mayor, if you don't get a move and a second, the recommendation falls over anyway.
Correct.
So I would rather see that we defer this motion and seek further advice. Well, I know Julie's given us as much as she has, but I personally need to... I wasn't aware that the feed compost pad goes back to the...
It was on.
So that is very new information. It may well be in the 500-page report, but I missed it. I'm sorry. So I think we as a council need more time to look at this. And as this is an extraordinary council meeting, we have our monthly council meeting in 2 weeks' time. I think we should be making that decision, a more informed decision at that meeting rather than this one.
Councillor Wallace,
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Yeah,
got a
absolutely.
mover and a seconder. Any other comments from councillors?
No, I agree with
So the motion is to defer it to our forthcoming meeting
One
Whatever
monthly
in
meeting.
whatever the date is in March.
Yeah.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. You've had your opportunity to address council, right?
Relevant
It might be relevant, but
to
that
you
is the
guys.
opportunity.
To you guys.
Mr Mayor, can I just ask the manager of the feedlot a question?
Yes.
Would it be possible to go out and visit the...
Of course.
Could they come out and visit the site?
James would love to see.
Yeah, I've always been open, anyone can come in, so I'll
Yeah.
I'll give them a look around.
Yep, so just give you a ring beforehand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
And it might be worthwhile for a couple of funds to get out and
Yeah.
have a look too.
It's foreign area for me.
Yeah.
It's not an area that I have any depth of knowledge on, so yep, I would really appreciate that.
Pat, it's my understanding the council had an open invitation once it was opened
Yes.
to go and have a tour.
Yeah, any time
yeah.
James has said to me, council
Yeah.
want to come out and have a look and chew the fat.
Yeah,
Great.
no, happy to show anyone around.
Permanent one?
All right, that's the only item on the agenda. Therefore, I'll close the meeting and thank you very much, councillors and staff.